What's going on, guys? Welcome to Fett's Legacy. My name is Taryn, and I'm back today with a new video talking about Chapter 6 of the Book of Boba Fett. Again, guys, Boba Fett really wasn't in this episode, but I do think that they're building up to what's going to happen in the finale. So, obviously, guys, if you haven't seen Chapter 6, go watch that first, as none of this will make sense. And second, if you guys enjoy the content, please feel free to like and subscribe. It helps me out a lot, and I hope you guys enjoy. So let's get right into it. So the episode opens in Mos Pelgo with the Pikes dropping off some spice and taking some payment. We don't see who they are actually delivering the spice to. My thoughts are Crimson Dawn, as I've said before in previous videos. Cobb Vanth appears, and he's telling them, basically leave and you can keep your lives and just don't come back. Pretty much, they do not like what he is saying, and they try to reach for their blaster. And we see Cobb Vanth is an absolute beast. He takes out 3 Pikes, very fast, and lets the last one go. And he takes the spice. And he ends up kicking it over. And Cobb Vanth just shows that he's got a sense of honor to him, and he's a cowboy. You know what I mean? Like, this scene was absolutely awesome. I thought it was super cool to see. I did want to say, guys, we do see Mando talking to Cobb Vanth later about, how he lost his armor, how he's feeling. And we see this sense of honor in Cobb Vanth. And I haven't really seen anyone else talk about this, but I think maybe if my theory about Boba Fett is true, that he becomes the ruler of Mandalore, could we see maybe Cobb Vanth be inducted into this new age of Mandalorians, maybe get his own set of armor to replace, obviously, Boba's armor that he had to give back. I thought, that would be really cool. And, I think if anyone deserves, some armor, I think it's Cobb Vanth. He's a really, honorable dude, and, he's just trying to be the marshal of a small town, trying to protect his town. So I would love to see maybe that happen. Boba gives him some new set of armor or something. Or even Din Djarin, if he ends up being the Mandalore. I would like to see Cobb Vanth just become a Mandalorian, if that's possible. That would be absolutely awesome. So let's move on. Din Djarin goes to see Grogu, and we don't know exactly what planet this is, but it's the planet that Luke is starting his new Jedi Order on, and we see R2-D2. Always happy to see R2. And it seems like Din is warming up to droids a lot more now. He's gone through a lot of character growth in that department, so that was really cool. And yeah, so we see Luke he has these spider droids building this new Jedi temple, and it's really cool. So we then see Luke is training with Grogu, and as they are meditating, Grogu can't focus. Even though he is 50 years old, he's still technically a child in his species, as they age very slowly. So he can't focus, and there's this frog creature going around, and he tries to lift it up and eat it, as he's kind of always hungry. And Luke realizes what he's doing, and he also knows that there's a lesson in everything. He learned this from Yoda. Everything that goes on, everything that happens, there's a lesson in that. So he shows him that Luke can lift up the entire pond of frogs just with his hand, showing that there are benefits to learning the ways of the Force, and basically telling him you should focus if you want to do this, kind of. So I thought that was really cool. The eyes on Grogu went really wide. It was cute. So they go on a little walk, and it's really funny because Grogu doesn't have his little container that floats around anymore. And Luke actually pushes Grogu along with the Force. Obviously, he can't keep up with his little tiny legs. But yeah, Luke pushes him along to keep up. I thought that was hilarious. And they start talking about Yoda, and Luke brings up the quote, size matters not, talking to Grogu. And, that was such a great callback. Personally, if you guys didn't know, Episode 5 is my favorite Star Wars movie. I love that movie, so every callback to that and Dagobah and Luke's training with Yoda was absolutely amazing to see. I loved it all. So yeah, that was awesome. And Luke seems like he wants to know more about Yoda's species, and so he wants to see if Grogu remembers, and then he tries to help him remember, and we see him, put his hand on his head, dive into his memories, um, and we've seen this in the sequels when Kylo Ren does it to Poe, and so that was obviously used for evil, and Luke just wants to learn more about the species, wants Grogu to remember. So yeah, I thought that was really cool. So we see a really cool flashback of Order 66, and we don't see who saved Grogu. There are some speculations going on right now that it could have been Darth Vader. It could have been Barriss Offee, as we do see a symbol that we saw in the Clone Wars in her room in the background. People are speculating that. I was honestly just waiting to see a purple lightsaber or something. I just wanted to see Mace Windu, but obviously I know that's a stretch. That's pretty far-fetched, but that would have been awesome. But yeah, so we see some Order 66. Obviously, that's pretty traumatic for Grogu, and maybe this plays into his decision later on. I'll talk about. So, Mando gets waken up by Ahsoka, and Ahsoka says she's an old friend of the family. I thought that was a really cool little throwback to the Clone Wars, and she was really good friends with Padme and Anakin, obviously. So, basically they're talking, and Mando says he wants to see him, and we get the worried dad Mando here. He's worried about Grogu. He really wants to see how he's doing and see him and stuff. So Ahsoka tries to convince him that it's not the best for Grogu. So obviously he's having a tough time distancing himself from Din Djarin, as that's basically like his father almost. He ends up giving Ahsoka the Mandalorian armor, the chain link armor that we talked about in the last episode that he had made for him. He gives it to Ahsoka to deliver, as he does realize it's best for Grogu's training to not see him, even though he says, I came all this way, and you can tell he's very sad just by his voice, because he obviously wants to see him. But he gives Ahsoka the armor and leaves, and as he leaves, Grogu sees the ship leave. Obviously, this is a new ship. I don't think Grogu knows that Mando has a new ship, but he can obviously sense him in the Force and knows that that's him, and definitely probably sad that he didn't get to see him. So Luke is then trying to teach Grogu how to jump around like Yoda, the little flips and stuff with the Force, and he says, "Don't try, do." Obviously, this is a callback to Yoda saying, "Do or do not, there is no try." And, I love that quote. Like I said, anything that goes back to Luke's training with Yoda, I love it. So, and again, we see Grogu then sits in a little backpack on Luke's back, like how Yoda was on Luke's back in Empire. And that was such a cool little throwback. So he's trying to teach Grogu balance, while using the Force. And just like Luke did on Dagobah when he's, upside down on his one hand with Yoda on his foot up in the air, he's trying to teach Grogu how to balance. And then we see Grogu is getting the hang of it. And then we see Luke with a lightsaber doing some training. I don't know if this was to, work on his own training, or probably just to show Grogu some of the stuff that's coming up in his training. And, he has a lot to learn, obviously. So I thought that scene was really cool. And I did want to say, honestly, guys, the CGI on Luke, it looks amazing. They hired a YouTuber, actually, who did his own deep fake of the Mandalorian Season 2 finale, and it looked better. So they actually hired him, and I thought the CGI looked great. The voice that they did, that sounds like a young Mark Hamill. I thought that was done really well. I just thought it was really good, and I think, obviously, I do think that they should maybe just cast like Sebastian Stan to do like a Luke role. But if they can do this well, I would be so happy with like a Luke show of just him building his new Jedi Order. I don't know if we'll get it, but that would just be amazing. So then Luke brings out the old training remote that fires on him in Episode 4 with a lightsaber. Obviously, Grogu doesn't have a lightsaber, so This is more about learning how to jump around the Force. Grogu thinks it's a ball. It was that was pretty funny, but uh, Grogu, learns really quickly how to jump around, and he's doing the whole flipping thing like Yoda used to do, and that was just so cool. So then Ahsoka comes as Grogu's just kind of jumping around, and she they're talking about Grogu, and Luke says he's pretty much remembering more than Luke is teaching him, and this is because Grogu has probably gone through extensive training with the Jedi back during the Republic era. Obviously, we're far from that now, but um, he's just remembering some of the stuff that he's been taught. He's probably learned under many Jedi Masters. I'm sure he's learned under Yoda, Mace Windu, probably Jocasta Nu, a bunch of different Jedi. So, yeah, he's just remembering pretty much. And Ahsoka, then she says, you're so much like your father to Luke, and that was just an amazing scene. Almost made me tear up a little bit. It was definitely a really good scene. I love this whole thing. This episode was amazing, but yeah. So Luke is unsure about what to do with Grogu, as he can tell that his heart isn't super in it right now. You can tell that he still has an attachment to Din Djarin, and so he's trying to figure out what to do with Grogu, and he's asking Ahsoka for advice. Obviously, guys, obviously Luke is stronger in the Force than Ahsoka, in my opinion. I think obviously his power levels are way higher, but he looks up to Ahsoka, as Ahsoka has been training in the Force for way longer. She's way older. She's from, the era of the most powerful Jedi. She learned under his father, so he looks up to Ahsoka. Ahsoka is the one with the most knowledge right now between the two. But obviously he's more powerful with the Force, as he is Anakin Skywalker's son. So yeah, I thought that was really cool. He obviously looks up to her, and so then Din ends up going to Tatooine to meet with Boba and Fennec and the rest of the crew. The music in this scene is so ominous. It sounds like a crime movie. It's so awesome. But he goes up, and we see Boba actually in this episode, but he doesn't talk. Just a nod, and I wasn't too unhappy with that, just because Boba doesn't always need to talk. In Return of the Jedi, that nice little helmet nod that Boba started has become, a huge thing for all the Mandalorians. They just do a nice little helmet nod. They don't really need to say anything. So that scene was pretty cool for me. But Din says he can help get foot soldiers for the attack against the Pikes, the war that's coming, and he goes to Mos Pelgo. We do see, as he's flying by, a Jawa sandcrawler has the Krayt Dragon skull that obviously the Mandalorian, Cobb Vanth, the town, and the Tuskens killed. They have the skull on top of the sandcrawler. I thought that was really cool. And so Mando goes to Mos Pelgo, and him and Cobb Vanth are talking about, losing the armor and losing Grogu. And I think this plays into, I think Cobb Vanth should get some new armor. I think he should become a Mandalorian. I think that would be awesome. Yeah, maybe they'll be reunited with both. Mando will be reunited with Grogu, and Cobb Vanth will be reunited with some armor. Obviously not Boba's, but they're inside the bar in Mos Pelgo, and the Krayt Dragon ribcage is actually lining the inside of the bar, so I thought that was a cool touch. And now Mos Pelgo is actually renamed to Freetown. You can tell Cobb Vanth wants to help Boba, not because of Boba, but because the Pikes have already come through Mos Pelgo. He can tell that this is going to be an issue, and he wants to organize something with the town to get the fighters so they can go help and get rid of this threat of the Pikes. So as he's figuring that out, we hear the wind chime, and he looks off in the distance, and you see this cowboy looking guy walking in from the sands of Tatooine. And this was like such a Western movie style thing. Obviously, I did a whole video on this whole scene. If you guys don't know, Cad Bane was the one that came to Mos Pelgo, or Freetown, sorry. And this was just such a great entrance. I implore you guys to go watch that video, as I would go more in depth into this whole scene. But yeah, Cad Bane is back, guys. I did want to say, I didn't say this in the other video, but I did think about it as soon as I pretty much published the video. I was talking to my buddy about it, and I think Cad Bane is the one that killed the Tuskens, Boba's tribe, because, you know, not a lot of people paid attention to it, but in Chapter 4 of the Book of Boba Fett, Fennec is surprised that a speeder bike gang of Nikto riders or whatever, they took out a whole tribe of Tuskens. And I felt like no one really paid attention to that, except for me and maybe a few others, but I didn't think that it was just them who took them out. I thought maybe they were working with someone else, and I think, just based off of what Cad Bane says to Cobb Vanth, you shouldn't have given up your armor. It seems like he's been on Tatooine for a while, spying and getting some info. As we know, a lot of bounty hunters are good trackers, and they like to get a lot of info before they just rush into things. So I think Cobb Vanth either worked with the Nikto speeder bike gang to take them out, or they tried to frame the Spider-Bite gang with that symbol, and it was just either Cad Bane with the Pikes, or Cad Bane maybe with Bossk, Cad Bane with someone else from Crimson Dawn. I don't know, but maybe they captured the female Tusken, as we don't see her at the end of that scene when they die, and we don't see her gaffy stick. So I do think she's still alive, but maybe they captured her. This will probably set Boba off into like a rampage. I'm so excited for the finale, guys. It's going to be so amazing. But yeah, so also some people thought Cad Bane looked good, and some people thought Cad Bane looked bad. I do want to say Cad Bane is really old in this timeline now. In the Clone Wars, he was around 40, and I think it's been around like 30 years, so he's like 70, and the Duros species only live to like around like 80 or 90, I think. So he's old, guys. Like, he's lighter for a reason. He's got some more wrinkles, and it's a human actor, so they can't make the nose as long. But I thought he looked amazing. The eyes were really good. His outfit was great, and his voice was impeccable. So nothing else really matters. And when you're transitioning a character that started off in animation to live action, they're not going to look the same. If you expect them to look the same, then I don't know what to tell you. Like, that's kind of stupid. I'm not going to lie. So, yeah, so we'll move on from there. I do want to say I don't think Cobb Vanth is dead, guys. I did mention that in the other video, but some people think he's dead. He's not dead. There's no way. So, we then go on to the Pikes bring a bomb into Garsafwip's sanctuary, and this is them fully committing an act of war. As they leave, Garsafwip realize what has just happened, and I don't know if there's any survivors in there. I do want to say we don't see Max Rebo in there as it's happening, so I think he's still alive. If any of you guys are wondering, he's a legendary character, actually one of the only characters to survive the sail barge disaster. So, yeah, I don't think he's dead, guys, but I think everyone else that was in there, including Garsafwip, is probably dead. That explosion looked pretty crazy. So that was pretty sad, but this is a necessary thing to set up the actual war. This is them committing the act of war. So yeah, so then we go back to Luke and Grogu, and he is giving Grogu a choice between the Mandalorian armor or Yoda's lightsaber, guys, and this was so cool to see. I do think, some people are saying, did they retcon the comic? Because in the comics, if you guys don't know, Masamita actually throws Yoda's lightsaber into a furnace after Revenge of the Sith. And so people are saying, did they retcon this? Did Yoda make a new lightsaber? I think, guys, I don't think he made a new lightsaber because he was living in exile and he was unwilling to use a lightsaber after that. I do think, on the other hand, I do think maybe he actually got his own lightsaber after that fight with Palpatine, and maybe in the comics, maybe they built a fake one just to kind of signal to the people that the Jedi Order is fully dead, show Yoda's lightsaber. Maybe they made a fake one and threw that in. Or they're just retconning the comics like they have done before. Either way, I don't really care. I'm happy to see it in live action. I'd rather it not be destroyed. I'd rather how they're taking it, so I'm not going to complain. The thing is, right, is we kind of know what Grogu is probably going to pick. Obviously, they could take it in a different direction, but in the sequels, It is said that Ben Solo is Luke's first student. So for that to be true, obviously I'd love for them to retcon the sequels, but I don't think that's going to happen. For that to be true, Grogu has to pick the armor. And I think if he does, then Luke will bring him to Tatooine. We'll see, obviously, Luke interact with Boba at one point. I don't think they're going to fight, guys. I know a lot of people think that they're going to fight, but Boba is a changed man after the Sarlacc pit, after the Tuskens. And Luke is a Jedi Master. He's not going to pick a fight with him. So I don't think they'll fight. I think they'll be on the same side, as Tatooine is Luke's home planet. That's where he grew up. So I think he'll want to defend it as well. And like I said, I do think Grogu is going to pick the armor. And I think this calls back to when they show the Order 66 scene. You can tell it's traumatizing for Grogu. So I think he is done with the Jedi, maybe, and he wants to chill with Din Djarin and just kind of grow up with him. I honestly wanted him to be both, like Tar Vizsla, the guy who was a Mandalorian and made the Darksaber and was also a part of the Jedi. I wanted Grogu to be both, but I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't know if they would also reintroduce Yoda's lightsaber and not make him have it, though. So maybe he will be both. That would be really cool. But I do think we will see them both come to Tatooine next episode. So that will be awesome. And also, I do want to say quickly, I don't want this video to go on too long, but some people are mad about how Luke is handling the Grogu situation, as in Empire, he had attachment to his friends and he went to go save them. And it is Luke's attachment to his father that actually saved Darth Vader and saved the galaxy. So people are saying, he's kind of a hypocrite and, you should change these ways. But here's the thing. Here's the difference, guys, is even with Luke's attachment, he always wanted to be a Jedi. It was in his heart to be a Jedi. No matter what his attachment was, his end goal was still to become a Jedi, just like his father. Grogu, on the other hand, doesn't seem like he wants to be a Jedi right now. He seems like he's more interested in Din Djarin and food. So I think he's just trying to see if his heart's in it, if he really wants this. And I think this is actually perfect from Luke, because instead of like the Jedi in the past, where they would just take kids and pretty much force them to become Jedi, he is giving Grogu a choice. He's saying, I'm not going to train you if you don't want to be trained. If you don't want to be trained, you can live your life. And I think he's really handling this better than people are giving him credit for. So, yeah, I think this is just setting up a meeting to go on Tatooine. I'm hoping Grogu will get both, and that would be awesome. But guys, let me know what you guys thought about this episode down in the comment section below, and what you thought of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and please leave a thumbs up, and I'll see you guys next time.